What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Zamboni. I'm a musician and astrologer, and it is time to talk about the astrology of the week ahead. I couldn't make it out to the creek this week because it is too rainy for that shit, but we still gonna hit them with the weekly forecast. Thank y'all so much for being here. Appreciate y'all as always. It is a new moon in Taurus today. So I do like to see a new moon in Taurus because the moon is exalted in Taurus. The moon feels comfortable and is able to do the moon things, the nourishment, the sort of like sensual pleasure, the feeling rooted in a spot, and all of these kinds of things. The moon is really good at doing those kinds of things in Taurus. This new moon in Taurus is particularly malefic. It is one of these moons that like looks like it is not here to play games. And, Taurus does like to be, you want it to be fun and games. You want things to feel good in this space. And I don't think that that is what this new moon is serving up. So this new moon in Taurus is immediately T squared to Mars in Leo opposite to Pluto in Aquarius, right? So already that is there and aggressive. Mars has already passed the direct opposition to Pluto, so we're maybe seeing some of that influence waning a little bit, but we're still within 3 degrees. It's like still an orb. It looks like it wants to be pretty heavy still. So, as far as like obsession and like being obsessed with getting a task done or doing a thing, aiming at a target and obsessively moving toward that goal, that's what that Mars Pluto is going to want to do, right? And so, that is likely to try to create or generate value in some kind of way, especially if we're thinking about Taurus being associated with things that feel good or are delicious, or, there's a kind of lasting, stable value to the Taurus things. Sometimes Taurus can be associated with money and stuff, but more than that, there's like the lasting value of food, right? You can't eat coins, but food will always be valuable, or clean water, or beautiful things will always be valuable in their way, right? So Taurus is trying to generate that. We can remember that new moon is a seed planting moment, right? And so it's a moment where you start the thing and sort of like try to create or grow whatever else is out here, right? And so the thing that is likely to be seeded and trying to grow, trying to get toward it, is this sense of like obsessive desire and aim and shooting at whatever that thing is, whatever that most important thing is. So defining your values is going to be really, really important through this. And that is actually a lot of what's going on here this week as well when we think about what's going on with Venus. So because Venus is ruling this new moon in Taurus, right? And so Venus is in Pisces, exalted in Pisces. Love to see Venus in the exaltation. This is part of what I'm saying about like, you want it to be delightful and things to feel so fun and easy and free and delicious and sensual and like all of the most fun Venus things, right? You want all that to be going on because Venus is exalted in Pisces. Venus loves to be in this space, feeling good, doing the Venus stuff. Thing about it here is that this Venus is also conjunct Saturn. So Saturn is the planet of challenges, obstacles, boundaries, limitations, saying no to stuff. There's a kind of pessimism that is typically associated with Saturn that can be kind of difficult. And so thinking through the Venus stuff alongside the Saturn stuff is going to be really important to the Taurus new moon situation here. So if we're thinking about ways to really work with the Taurus new moon, first thing you could do is you could get a reading at zambonifunk.com. You can hear about what's going on specifically with you, where this is showing up in your chart, where you might look for this in your life, and what kind of specific strategies you can take it, looking at not just this new moon, but how this new moon interacts with your personal contextual life experience. We can talk about all of that. You can find that at zambonifunk.com. There's a super affordable 10-minute reading. You should go check that out. It's so much fun also. Like, I have a fun time doing it. The people who write back to me always seem like they have been delighted by the experience. So please go check that out, zambonifunk.com. So that's one thing you can do. Another thing you can do here is like think with the Taurus stuff, right? So Taurus is the sign of the bull, right? And that's part of how we get to like, you know, raising cattle and this idea of like, you know, availability of beef and milk and dairy and then like the idea of raising farm animals and this kind of thing, like the generation of things that are valuable, you know, like that sort of stuff is going on here. But also with Taurus, there's something that is deeply steadfast and heavy, right? Things are not moving unless you really want them to. And we can see that that slowness is echoed by Venus's conjunction to Saturn. So Saturn is the slow planet. And so the ruler of the new moon hanging out there with the slow planet does look like something that is going to take a little while to make itself manifest. It's always good to remember that the moment that you plant the seed is not the same moment that you eat the fruit, right? So already, whenever we're looking at a new moon, then we're going to be looking at least one lunar cycle, 1 month. But then a lot of times we also might think about the year. That is, like, we've got the new moon in Taurus here at this point, and then 6 months from now, when the sun is in Scorpio, then we're going to have the full moon in Taurus, and then there will be another 6 months before there's another new moon here. That might be considered one cycle as well. And so for this time, the Taurus things, wherever Taurus is in your chart, you can look at your house placements and see what kind of stuff you're going to be looking at. But that sort of stuff is likely to move slowly. And it's likely that you're going to have to be super intentional about thinking through, right? So Venus is at the end of this retrograde cycle. Venus stationed retrograde at, I think, 10 or 11 degrees of Aries, and then moved back into Pisces, hung out there in Pisces for a while, and then started to move forward again. And so we're still in the retrograde shadow at this point. So still working with, so the retrograde moment is a good time to reevaluate your priorities. What's going on here? What are my values? What do I really care about? What matters the most to me, right? And then there seems to be something tactical here. Something about like, okay, so if these really are my values, and maybe you noticed your value, maybe rather than being like, these are my stated values, here's what I say about it. Maybe you can use this as a reflection point of like, what am I actually spending my time on? Because those are the things that I clearly actually value, because I'm actually putting my time, attention, energy, focus into those things, right? So you notice what that stuff is. And then be like, okay, so if my values are in this place, do I like it? Is this what I want to do? But then also, if I am going to prioritize my values, then tactically, practically, how am I going to actually do this? How am I going to actually, you know, one of the things that I really like about Saturn, you know, Saturn can be difficult in all this, but one of the things that's really helpful to think with Saturn is this idea of making something tangible or real. Saturn is the planet of limitations, but that is sort of like this idea of all of the thoughts and dreams that are possible are not limited by the rules of reality, but then when you like bring them into the world, then now they're going to be subject to gravity and friction and you know, all of the things that it takes to like actually live in the world. This Saturn represents that sort of stuff. So if we're looking at desire and harmony and value and all of the most delicious things that Venus really wants to talk about while we're looking at this exaltation moment, then it's like, okay, if I'm going to do that, if I'm going to Mars, Pluto, shoot at this target, then what is it going to take for me to actually do that? And maybe there are going to be some challenges that will be associated here that are not going to be the most delicious thing, but that may be on the road to the most delicious thing. So we're definitely still in this place where we're looking at delayed gratification here. Things are moving slowly, but there is an opportunity to take what we have learned over the last few weeks, all of the challenges and the difficulties and the turnarounds that have been associated there, and actually aim at those things and make them real in some kind of way. Go ahead, plant that seed, y'all. Appreciate it.